citations and the references. And what the BBC showed us. Can I have the next slide? Okay, next. Okay, what the BBC showed us. I have analyzed almost about 30 news articles, but what I'm going to show today is only a couple of articles that represent sort of the ideology of the BBC as well as the Al Jazeera. Let's look at the BBC report on 8 October titled Hamas Attack Shocked Israel. In this report, BBC clearly showed that Hamas is the agent of action. Hamas entered southern Israel. Hamas killed many people. Hamas took hostages. Israel, meanwhile, in the report earlier in the attack, appears as a victim. Israeli residents hid in shelters. Israeli partygoers ran for their lives, and Israel is described as unprepared. A month after that, the tone changes. In a report titled Gaza Hospital Crippled and Fighting Rages Nearby, Israel regains agency but carefully. The report uses phrases such as Israel said it had clashed with Hamas. Israel said there was no siege. The phrase Israel said is powerful. BBC tried to maintain illusion of neutrality while granting authority to Israel's version of events. Let me look at the labeling. Interestingly, the labeling changed. In the early report on the 7th of October, Hamas was described as militant, fighters, and Islamist group. It's a negative labeling. A month after that, those labels softened. Hamas is described as Hamas Command Center, Hamas runs ministry. There are several reasons for that. One of it is because of Israel heavy bombardment, which has caused a huge demonstration all over the world, including in London. And these changes in discourse, I argue, is probably to reflect what the British society feel at that time, where Israel has been seen as trying to destroy Gaza and trying to destroy the Palestinians' life. And that changes in the situations in Britain and all over the world may arguably change the way BBC label Hamas and the way BBC label or trying to refer to Israel compared to early report. So how about Al Jazeera? Al Jazeera's coverage is different from the BBC. In an article entitled Fears of Ground Invasion of Gaza, Israel immediately seen as an agent. Israel flattened the tower, Israel bombed Gaza, Israel cut power. Hamas is also an agent. Hamas attacked Israel, but it gives the rationales that we think that needed to be heard all over the world. Hamas attacked Israel in response to the desecration of Al-Aqsa and Israel atrocities for years and years. And this is missing in the BBC. A month later, in Israel raids killed 3 more Palestinians in the West Bank, Israel agency continues. Israel raids, Israel's attack, and Israel killed. Interestingly, one thing about Al Jazeera is the labeling is consistent and contextually rich. If the BBC tend to negatively label Hamas and positively uphold the Israeli voices, Al Jazeera treat both sides equally. Israel is described through institutional titles such as Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israel Army, settlers, and others. Hamas is described as a Palestinian armed group, political description, not a criminal one. In terms of voice, Al Jazeera quotes broadly. Al Jazeera quotes Israeli officials Al Jazeera quotes Hamas, Palestine, and others. It doesn't dismiss any sides in quoting their news. So what do we learn? Is the narrative change? The BBC shows a rhetorical shift from early emphasis on Hamas as aggressor and Israel as the victim to portraying Israel as defensive and Hamas as less negatively. Yet the main narrative never changed. Israel's statements are facts. Palestinian statements are claims. Let's see one of the lines in the BBC that keeps repeating until today. If you look at the BBC News, they will repeat this background. Hamas killed an estimated 1,200 people inside Israel on 7th October. Israel response inside Gaza has killed more than 11,000 people, according to Hamas-run health military. Let's see the difference. One statement is factual. Other statement is conditional. Hamas killed 1,200 people is factual. Israel response that has killed 11,000 people is conditional, according to Hamas-run health military. Al Jazeera, in contrast, maintained a consistent counter-hegemonic discourse that keeps Israel agentive, Hamas political, and Palestinian visible. In essence, the BBC changed tone but not ideology. Al Jazeera maintained ideology but ensured context. Here's my conclusion. In a seminal book by Michel Foucault, The Archaeology of Knowledge, he speaks about the ruptures and break in discourse. A break in discourse is the moment where established systems of thought are disrupted. Let me give you an example. I remember reading this book. He said that in the 17th and 1800th century, those with mental problem, people who have mental issues, like those who are mad or those who are quote unquote, regarded as crazy, can roam around and can be part of society. At one point, these people is regarded as not healthy and being put into mental hospital. Foucault questioned how the break in discourse that decide that these people regarded as not healthy to be part of the society and should be put in the mental hospital. So he questioned that break in the discourse, how the discourse break. So if we apply here, could we be witnessing a similar break in discourse today? One that challenges the long-standing Western representation of Palestine? Could the ongoing flotilla movement nowadays act as a solidarity and the unprecedented visibility of Gaza can mark a rupture in how the world speaks about Palestine? For decades, global audience depended largely on the BBC, CNN, Reuters to define reality. But today, social media shattered that monopoly of control. Now, ordinary citizens, Palestine, journalists, doctors, children can broadcast their own truth. But still, global media remains powerful. It continues to shape how the world accepts as truth and what dismissed as bias. And I hold on to hope that within this institution, with the very structures that once silenced, there might emerge a new moral awakening. The journalists, the editors, the storytellers of this global media will reflect the truth, will name justice as injustice, and let the language of humanity prevail over the language of power. With that, thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.